Texas A&T Bridges Institute for Professional Development. This is the second of our 6-part series of meditation and mindfulness with Michelle. So Michelle, I am going to turn it over to you and let you get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Jamie. Welcome back. Just a quick thing that I'd like to extend as an invitation, and all my invitations are choices, is if those of you can, if it's possible, to put on your cameras. And I know that's not always what people want to do, but it's a nice way to practice with others and kind of see each other. So that's up to you. I know that some may have challenges with Wi-Fi, but wanted to put that out there. So those of you that are on camera, thank you and welcome. Good to see you. We're going to start with nice. I appreciate it. So good. It's fun to see the different backgrounds. I'm not so creative. We're going to start right off with a practice just to come into the space. It'll be a short one, but it will be a practice that brings us together. So remembering the posture from last week, and if you joined Monday, feet on the floor. If you're on a cushion, that's great. Just getting comfortable, moving up your legs, feeling the buttocks supported by the chair or the cushion. And now letting the shoulders drop. And if you're comfortable, close eyes or simply gazing downward. You just want to eliminate distractions. So look, with your eyes closed, just begin to pay attention to the breath. The breath possibly entering the nostrils. Listen to my voice and follow the breath from the nostrils, maybe into the chest and the belly, the rise and fall, coming completely into this moment and letting go of thoughts that are outside of the space, knowing that thoughts will come. And you can notice the thoughts and return your attention to the breath. Just breathing in and breathing out. Maybe letting some tension flow out of the body. And if the mind drifts, as it will, the mind drifts. Lots of thoughts. We simply label and we return to the breath. We are keeping the mind alert and focused so the body can rest. When the mind drifts, we simply notice, we label, and we come back to the breath. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. We're simply present. You can anchor your attention, breathing in and breathing out. I'm going to read a poem by Donna Fox. It only takes a reminder to breathe, a moment to be still, and just like that, something in me settles, softens, makes space for the imperfection. The harsh voice of judgment drops to a whisper. I remember again that life isn't a relay race, that we will all cross the finish line, that waking up to life is what we were born for. As many times as I forget, I catch myself charging forward without even knowing where I'm going. That many times I can make the choice to stop, to breathe, to walk slowly into the mystery. Only a moment, just breathing in and breathing out, coming into this space with one another. We are training this muscle of the mind to pay attention and notice what is present in this moment. Whenever the mind drifts, we come back to this moment. And now I invite you to breathe deeply in through your nostrils, down into your belly. Pause and release slowly through your mouth. Repeating, inhaling through the nostrils, deep into the chest and the belly. Pausing and releasing. And one more time on your own. And when you're ready, slowly join me in this space, opening your eyes and being with me tonight. We'll be together for just under 90, an hour and a half. And we'll integrate practices and chats so that I can learn from you and address any questions you may have. A reminder that the definition of mindfulness is about being present with an openness, a curiosity, and a kindness in the moment. The other acronym I used was COAL, of curiosity, openness, awareness of the present with loving kindness. The practice of mindfulness, and it is a practice, so I just want to, no judgment on this part of what you were able to do for yourself this week. But the more we practice, the greater the benefits. So the benefit of practicing meditation, whether it's 5 to 20 minutes, and a lot of people recommend 20 minutes, and that's working up. So when we start, we don't start with 50-pound weights, but maybe fewer minutes. But I want to encourage you to see, so you can begin to feel the benefits. But the benefits include greater attention and focus, reduced stress and anxiety. It does and it has been known to lower blood pressure. So if you have high blood pressure, it's a great way to practice and control your own blood pressure. It does also has been known to improve the immune system. So especially when you're around a lot of people in schools or health environments, knowing that this can be beneficial, especially for stress and anxiety. I mean, I remember my days, so you can just find those moments to breathe. So I want to give you a minute, or just about a minute, just to write in the chat what you either noticed about yourself or what you were able to do in terms of practice between last week and tonight. And whatever you put is acceptable. So it may not have happened, which is reality for so many people that might not have been able to do it. So if you can add that into the chat for me, that would be helpful. Love seeing the dog. They're always calming. Maybe you learned something about yourself or your thoughts, whether the past or present, judging. Okay, so that happens. Emergencies happen in life, but you're here tonight, so thank you. We spent last week anchoring breath, and tonight we're going to learn to anchor in sound and in our body. And anchoring is a term of just holding us steady and balanced so that regardless of the weather, we're here. We don't get lost in thought or have all these lost anxieties that get created. Helped in the middle of the night with wakefulness. Well, I'm going to give you a great stay tonight. And one of the things we're going to close with is wonderful thing to help anybody suffers from insomnia, which a lot of people do in our society. It's one of the things I use often to help me sleep. I don't want you to fall asleep when I do the practice tonight, but it will be something I think you will find as a tool. Keeping my mind from, so it did feel more relaxed. So know that it's a habit. My mind's been drifting for over 60 years. I started practicing when I was in my 50s. When we have habits, of course, our mind goes off. It drifts all the time. Remember the research. So you're not alone. Drifting is what our mind does. It takes us away. What we're learning to do is to be present. Breathing exercises, wonderful, hard to calm down and do. Yeah, so there are days that it gets hard. Be kind to yourself. The fact that you're aware of it is a beginning. So I want to thank those of you for the chats. So tonight we're going to do another anchoring. So one of the things that we use anchor that help bring us back to the moment. It's a way of getting present. And also remember going from the flip lid to bringing the lid down and finding some ease and wisdom so we can access the prefrontal cortex, right? When we're here, we're in the amygdala and our body is frozen or it's ready to fight and it's activated. It's tense and our mind is racing. We might not be breathing. We might not be, ready to move. What we want to do is get to this point where we relax so that we can think with wisdom, discernment, and decide whether we are able to, respond thoughtfully versus reactively. If you're like me, I've said things that I regretted saying because I didn't give myself, or I've sent an email without thinking it through, or I've made faces, or, I've blown the horn without thinking about somebody who cut me off, which they may not have even known I was there. So we do things and we're not alone in it. We've got to be kind to ourselves. So tonight, one of the things we're going to do, just briefly for early practice, is listening to sound. And just like when you're focusing on your breath, the practice is to approach sound. I'm going to play some music, and I want you to approach it as if you've never heard it before. And notice if you go to a story. I mean, if you've heard it, you may think of the place you heard it or who you were with. You may think about whether you like it or don't like it. I want you to notice that when your mind goes to, I don't like, or, oh my God, I love this and it makes me feel great. Notice that and try to return just to the music, just listening to the music as exactly as it is. And see what that's like for you. So notice the tone, notice the spikes, the peaks, notice what happens in your body. And then I just want to hear so the same thing that we do in breathing, when the mind drifts, we want to come back just to the music. So sorry you keep losing connection, but I hope this works better for you. So I'm going to play this briefly. Again, just sit like you would as if you're practicing formal meditation. You can close your eyes if you like or gaze downward. Listen to this music. Remember just to focus on the music. Notice if the mind drifts. So if you join me now and just put in how you felt during that. I mean, using music as a practice is different. So just what did you notice? Could have been discomfort. It could have been uncomfortable. Could have been pleasant. Might have been too loud. Notice how you respond to sound in terms of practice. So, yeah, happy. Each time I drifted back, I came back to the song, and that is it. So there's not really any right or wrong in this. It's just noticing. And when you drift, again, you go back to the music. Anybody drift a lot to a story or heard the music before and felt like they were somewhere dancing downtown at Abby? That's good. I like that. So when just knowing how your mind will take you places. What we want to do when that happens, though, is return to the essence of the music, right? Is being able to simply listen to what comes, what is happening versus getting taken away with the music. So, yeah, Ricardo talks about playing classical music. So part of it is just noticing how it can be. The other thing that I want to offer is just being present with the sound that's around us. So if you think about, if I'm not talking, and I'm going to talk for a few moments, but my voice, right? That sounds may come from, and if you want to put some in the chat, where do you think sounds would be generated in the absence of my voice? So take a moment and just put in some chats about sounds that might be generated around you. Crickets, air conditioning, washing machine, dryer, airplanes, cars. Yeah, dogs barking, cats purring, the electronics humming. I turned off a fan earlier. So there are sounds that are immediately around you that might be in the vicinity. There are sounds outside of your room. Now I want you to think about sounds within your own body. So it might be the breath, could be somebody coughing, which is very natural in the human experience. The other thing that may happen is when your body is safe and rested, your intestines start to work. And you may hear your intestines, clearing of the throat. Your tongue moving in your mouth, the saliva. Cracking of the knees when I get up sometimes, right? So sound is another way, or the birds singing if you're outside. It could be the simple purring of a cat or a dog, and my dog purrs. So we want to learn, because we don't always get to meditate in silence. And for some of you, you may still be using guided practice. I still use guided practice. But there is also time where you may just sit somewhere and close your eyes and just breathe. And it may not be quiet. There may be noise. So we're going to take a moment now. And I want you to, again, get in your posture. So notice your feet on the floor. The posture in your body, in your chair, shoulders resting. And when you meditate, there is this thought of, can I move and do other things? The practice is to notice the mind telling you, you need to move, or you need to, brush your hair, or whatever it is, scratch. Notice that urge and see if you can just notice it and not react to it. This is about noticing how the mind takes us away from what we're doing. So once you're in your seat, gazing downward, and close your eyes. And now just listen. Notice if judgment happens when you hear something. Notice if the mind has drifted and return to simply the sense of hearing. When you're ready, join me in the space. What did people notice about that experience? And if you're able to talk, you're welcome to talk. You don't have to use the chat, but it seems easy with so more aware of what was happening around me. Yeah.
I
Ricardo.
I was able to hear sounds both inside of my house and sounds outside of the house. And every time I would hear a sound, I was making a judgment as to what is that? What am I hearing? Trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So, and that happens. So our mind wants to know everything, right? It wants us to take us. And part of it is letting the sound draw your attention until it no longer. So you're just with the sound and not the story of the sound. We may label it noisy, maybe unpleasant. I don't know if you've ever heard a speaker, and that's why I always say get free apps for meditation, don't pay for them, because there's a preference on voices. And, some people's voices sound, and we are all different. So, but yeah, noticing that. Thank you, Ricardo. And lots of noise, distractions. Somebody mentioned the sound of silence. Sometimes that's nice, especially if you're in busy schools, environments, lots of healthcare environments, lots of noise. So how to find that moment where you can just listen and find some time to come back to this resting of the body. And that's what we want to get to. Did anybody find it easier for being focused, or was it more distracting to listen and use sound as an anchor? Part of it is learning what's your preference to anchor. So learning whether it's the breath that brings you back to the moment, whether listening to sounds can keep your attention and keep you focused in the moment. Those are tools that you have that can bring you back to this moment. For some people, ringing a bell that says I'm going into a meditative state and paying attention is helpful. So just beginning to notice what brings you to the moment, to find this ease and focused mind so that your body can rest. Okay. We're going to do another practice that, in this time, we're going to focus. I do want to offer that getting in nature is an incredible place for those. If you have a park, even a tree, being able to sit in the presence of outside of natural light, could be even a gray day, but in nature where you might hear the wind and the leaves rustling or birds singing, even dogs barking. Being able to be in that has a calming sense on the body. So this is about self-care for you. As hard as that is, it's kind of, I'm worth it. I'm going to make the time to do something to take care of myself. You give yourself 5 to 10 minutes, you'll have much more energy and attention to others, which all of you are in service to others. So in order to serve others, you need to have that self-care for yourself. And I promise if you practice, it will begin to be easier, and it will, you'll begin to find that your service to others is not so exhausting. So just noticing what comes up. I mean, as I said, when your body's rested and your mind's focused, your body feels safe, and you might even start hearing your own stomach gurgle, and getting to the point where you can feel your pulse much easier because it's there for you. I spend a lot of time in nature, so I want to offer that. It's also something you can do if you just need a break. Just get outside and breathe in some of that fresh air. Notice the temperature, notice the warmth, the coolness, could be stale or dry. So this is also about becoming, having a vocabulary about your own sensations. And instead of letting the mind drift to a story and take you away and say, oh, this is horrible, I don't like it, or it's too hot, it's humid, blah, blah, blah. It's just to witness it. Like if you were having a student write a paper, for instance, is the description of the experience as if you're a witness yourself. It's the best way I can describe that. So we're going to do the next practice. Somebody noticed they like the music better. So that's, you begin to know your preferences. But we also are learning to be with whatever is, because we can't always control what's happening. The next practice is about anchoring in the body. And again, breath is always present. Sound is present. So when we're listening, that sound's happening in that moment is a way of bringing us back to the moment. And sensations and what I'll offer is most of us stay disconnected from our body. We spend most of our time in our heads, neck up. We're thinking, we're strategizing, we're multitasking because we're great at it. So there's no question anybody on this works hard and does a lot to prepare for their role of whatever that might be. What we want to learn to do is be better at being and knowing ourselves. And so we're going to do a practice of anchoring in our body. And this is going to be, for some, maybe very natural. If you practice yoga, it's part of what yoga does. Tai Chi is a perfect example. It's about connecting body, mind, and spirit in some ways. But so that in meditation also, we do connect to our body because it's present. So we learn to get intimate. We're going to move into dealing with chronic pain in the body in week 4. In week 5, we're going to work with dealing with emotional pain. And again, part of that's in the body, but it's also in the mind. So this is building up to the next aspect of how we develop our toolkit of meditation in practice. So I'm going to invite you, and again, this is as your mind drifts, you return to the body part that I'm talking about. And just be curious. Might be nothing there, but maybe you notice something you've never noticed before. And one of the things we develop is a vocabulary for sensations. You know, heat or cold, throbbing, pinching, tingling, numb, itchy, dry, moist. And I'm going to work you through some of this. So find your position again. And back straight, not rigid, shoulders resting, and maybe tucking the chin, and either gazing downward or closing your eyes. And now I invite you to bring your full attention to your feet on the floor. Maybe you notice the floor if you're barefoot, rug, soft, hard, maybe wood, concrete. Just noticing what is touching your feet. Could be your shoes or the socks you're wearing. Notice if you can feel those. Maybe, maybe not. And whenever your mind drifts, bring it back to the feet. And now notice what is present in the feet. Is there a difference between the left foot and the right foot? One heavier than the other? Can you notice where the pressure is on your feet? The ball of the foot, the heel of the foot. Just notice if there's anything there. Maybe, maybe not. Can you feel your pinky toe? Or maybe the big toe? The mind drifts. Notice and just return to the feet. As if you were describing what the sensations are without any story. Maybe the skin feels soft or dry. The shoes are hard or soft. Maybe they're cool or warm. Might be moist in areas and dry in others. Can you notice if all 10 toes are touching the floor or the shoes? Are some toes raised and others down? Just noticing. Precious toes, so important. Rarely do we give attention. Is there pulsing, tingling, itching, or just no feeling at all? Maybe being curious. Can you feel the blood flowing into the feet? And if you can't, there's no judgment, just a curiosity. When you're ready, take a deep breath all the way down to the belly and release. And join me in this space. So, anybody notice anything about their feet that they weren't aware of before? You can chat it or um, we tend to be very disconnected from the sensations of our body. Yeah, difference in how I place my feet and where I put most of the pressure. We don't realize that our feet, our toes, are probably very, I mean, they're very important for those of us, most of us who can be mobile and walk. It's the balance of our feet that keep us moving. And, you know, not everyone has that ability to walk. So the gratitude of giving attention to, if you're able to walk, noticing, paying attention to, can you lift your toes and move them? What does it feel like from the big toe to the little toe? We don't pay attention to our bodies. And yet, think about the work our body does for us without us giving it any attention. And we just kind of get up and go. And yet, taking care of our bodies is critical. How we nourish it is just like how we nourish our mind. And so, what we're learning to do is focus our mind to pay attention and notice these things in our body. Yeah, so knowing when one foot feels heavier than the other. I mean, it's almost, you know, we didn't talk about our shoulders or our neck or our backs, because those are areas where we tend to hold tension more. What we want to learn to do is know where those neutral areas are. Like our hands can be a neutral area. So sometimes a practice of meditation is to focus on a body sensation. Being able to notice and bring ourselves back to this time. And it's not, you know, there are times when you notice your feet are uncomfortable and you can adjust it. So you have control of that. But it's also being aware of when there's sensations that you may not be able to change, but being curious instead of judging and saying, oh, I don't like this. Notice when that happens, right? Because we all do it. And then just say, I'm going to go with this. I'm going to see what this is like and see if I can be with this. Any questions about practicing in the body? Because we're going to do a longer practice. So I just want to check in with everybody about practicing in the body and why we do that. You're good? Okay. You have a question or just good? Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. All right. I do want you to, it is an anchor that you can use. So one of the other things we're going to do tonight is do what's called and referred to as a body scan. Anybody ever wake up in the middle of the night or get into bed, you feel exhausted, and your mind immediately starts working? You know, it's planning the next day, it's going over the to-do list, or maybe it's going to the past of a conversation you had earlier, wishing you had done it differently. Noticing how we judge, how we compare, how we live in the past or we go to the future. And remember, when the mind is activated, in other words, you're thinking all these things, you've activated your body and it's not going to rest. As tired as you are, and sometimes it still happens to me. So one of the practices can be, and what we know in our society is we are very sleep deprived. You may know people who love to brag and say, oh, I only need 4 hours of sleep. Yeah, I would say that most researchers and scientists and others will say, no, really need, I mean, the number is 8 hours basically that people talk about. For some of you, I'm sure you would survive on 6 to whatever, but our bodies need to rest. It's what rejuvenates us. It's what gets us up in the morning. And so what I'm going to share with you is called a body scan. And this is a time when I honestly don't want anybody falling asleep. It may happen. So what I want you to be aware of, if you find yourself, as tempting as it may be, dozing off, what I'd like you to do is either lick your lips, open your eyes, and maybe even stand up, right? And I would love to say there's a time when I do this, and I do it to help people sleep. So there are practices that you can find on the apps that are free, that if you're having trouble sleeping, last week I mentioned the 3 deep breaths when you activate the vagus nerve can be helpful, right? So for me, I sometimes use the breathing, counting my breaths, inhaling, exhaling as 1, and I'll continue to count to 10. Again, it's a concentration. It's making your mind be present versus lost in all those other thoughts. We've already admitted that we all do it. Science has proven we can generate up to 70,000 thoughts a day. And what we're learning to do is to keep it present, knowing that the thoughts come, but we don't have to get sucked into them and go down a path with the thoughts. So this is a time that now, that those of you that turned on your cameras, thank you. But if you want to turn it off, that's fine. I'm going to guide you through this practice. And what I want to invite you to do now is find a place. It might be on a couch, could be on a bed, could be on the floor, or on a mat. But I want you can be laying down. And if you don't want to lay down, you can be sitting in a chair. But can be done as a horizontal experience. So if you'd like to take a minute now and find a cushion on the floor or a mat and lay down, I'm going to give people just a moment to, find their place. Support the back of your neck and maybe under your knees with a pillow, however you want to do it. I'm just going to give people a moment to do that. And again, this is the practice of having the mind be focused and again in the body, and just really approach it with that curiosity as if you've never explored this body before, with an openness, a presence, and with love. This is our precious one body we have. So, all right, when you make sure you're comfortable so that your body is laying down or sitting, and you have a support under your knees, maybe, under your neck, and you're laying on your back, and maybe your arms are just down by your side, palms up. I'm going to ask you just to begin with your breath, natural breathing, and close your eyes if possible, or just gazing downward, eliminating distractions. And this is the time of turning inward, just being inside with your own body, and knowing that the mind will drift. It's a habit. So whenever the mind drifts, we're going to return either to the breath or to the area of the body. This is an opportunity to be fully awake in the body, letting go of time. There's nowhere to go. Simply resting the body while the mind is completely alert, not lost in thought, but focused on the body and the sensations that are arising. Maybe you notice the rise and fall of the chest. Whenever the mind drifts, knowing that the breath is present and the sensations of your body. We are simply cultivating being present just with what is, exactly as it is. Just noticing. So this is the time to be with yourself, aware of your own energy, and letting go of any judgmental thoughts. And as thoughts come, notice, label, and return to the sensation of your body. Maybe this is a moment for some stillness, being aware of what the sensations are and where the mind is. Possibly bringing awareness to how you feel. There's no right way of feeling. There are just feelings. No need to judge. Just be aware. You might notice discomfort. Notice it, label it. Notice what's happening. Maybe label pulsing, throbbing. Observe how the sensation rises and falls, whether it changes, escalates, softens, gets harder. Just try to notice it as if you're witnessing it and describing it to another. And now bring your mind's attention to the full body, from the top of your head, down your shoulders, torso, legs, all the way to your feet. Maybe you feel the temperature touching your exposed skin. Notice if it's cool or warm. The air caressing the whole body. Maybe noticing the rhythmic pulse of your breath, the ebb and flow, the rising and falling of your chest, taking you deeper, possibly into relaxation. It's the time to be awake in the body so it can rest, keeping the mind focused and alert. Now imagine sending a breath all the way down to your feet, as if the breath was traveling from the nostrils, throat, lungs, belly, into the legs, into the feet, and back. And the mind drifts, you return to the breath, flowing from your nostrils to your feet, and releasing. Notice if there's any sensation again in the feet. Maybe the temperature touching. Just noticing what's present. And when you're ready, allow the image of your feet to dissolve in your mind's eye as you move your attention to your legs, the ankles, holding your legs, the calves on both legs, the right and the left. Maybe feeling the material on the legs or the mat. Again, breathing deeply into your body and noticing the sensations. Muscle, soft, hard, the skeleton, the shin, and shifting from your calves up to your knees. Hardness of the top of the knee, the softness behind the knee. Noticing what's present. Getting to know this body, this precious body you have. And now with your next breath, visualize breathing in and out of your legs and letting the image of your legs from the thighs to the knees, the calves, the ankles and feet dissolve. And again, feeling the breath, the ebb and flow. This body doing what it knows to do. You don't have to plan, you don't have to think. It simply happens. And now bring in your mind's attention to the pelvic area, the buttocks touching the chair or the floor. Noticing the sensations, your hips, the thighs. Being aware, any sensations, points of pressure or contact. If you notice discomfort, maybe pain, stiffness, try to just notice and name the sensations that are rising and falling. Maybe you notice how they change. Approaching it with this openness, this curiosity. Interesting. And now with your next breath, letting the image of the pelvic area dissolve from your attention. And move to the front of your body, the organs, the lungs, your chest. Just noticing what's happening there. Staying present with that area. Maybe feeling the intestines working, the lungs expanding, the rib cage, heart pulsing, beating. And circling to the back of your body. Feeling the ribs, spine, tailbone, again, organs, the wings of your shoulders, the touch on the mat or the chair. And now paying attention to the whole torso. Noticing maybe if the belly, there's digestion, fullness, gurgling, or if the intestines are working. Being curious, getting to know this body personally, intimately. With your next breath, inhaling into the torso area and then letting the image to dissolve from your mind's attention. Just breathing in and out. The area of the torso dissolves from your mind. And now bring in your full attention to the tips of your fingers, all the way down, entering from your nostrils and neck, down your arms to the fingertips. Maybe you notice your fingernails, the knuckles of your fingers, the weight of the thumb, and the difference with the pinky finger. Maybe you notice the moistness or the dryness of your palms, the temperature of the air touching the hands. Now bringing your attention from your hand to the wrists, the work, maybe the agility, or the dryness or achiness, pulsing, throbbing, tingling, numb. Are there sensations? Maybe, maybe not. Just noticing. Notice if the mind drifted, thinking of writing or typing or working, and come back to just what's there. It's a practice, the mind will drift, and we simply notice, label, and return. Now moving from the wrist to the forearms and the elbows, maybe the bone, the muscle, feeling soft, hard, tight. Moving up to the biceps and the shoulders. Notice the touching on the mat or the chair. Noticing if there's tightness, tension, maybe softening. Noticing how the shoulders are. Are they resting? Or are they up in the neck? Just noticing. And notice if you can breathe into the shoulders and the arms, the elbow, all the way down to your hands, and letting those areas rest and relax. And with your next breath, you're breathing into those areas and then letting the image of the arms just dissolve. And now bringing your full attention again to the neck, the throat area. There's sensations, maybe feeling sensation when you swallow. And moving from the neck to the head, starting with the jaw, if it's tight, clenched, loose, maybe open, resting. Moving from the jaw around to the front of your face, the mouth, maybe the moistness in your mouth, the dryness, the air entering, touching your lips. Maybe you notice your nostrils or the lip just below the nostrils, feeling the air enter. And now your eyes, maybe the eyelids twitching. Maybe you notice the color or not as your eyes are closed. And you feel that forehead, if it's tight or loose, eyebrows resting or locked, frowned, just noticing, being aware as we breathe into the body. And we're paying attention to the face. Maybe we feel the tongue, hardness of our teeth. And now bringing your mind's attention to the back of the head, the skull, touching the cushion or the floor, noticing how that feels, fully awake, fully aware, letting the body rest. Maybe you feel the hair follicles, the scalp. And as you breathe in, letting the image of your head dissolve, the front of the face, the back, just letting it dissolve as you continue to breathe in through the nostrils into your body, and then exhale and finding some relaxation as you're fully aware of this one precious body you have. You notice if it's relaxed, if there's sensations of just calm and ease. This is the one precious body you have. It's the only body. Being fully awake in it, fully aware, and resting while you're alert and focused. Can you treat your body with a loving kindness, being grateful for the whole body that you have, all that it does, all that it is. It functions, the organs work. You don't have to plan, you don't have to think. You simply are present. You're being here and now. And now I want to invite you to bring your attention again to your toes and wiggle the toes on the right foot and then the left foot, bringing yourself awake again. Maybe you wiggle the ankles, turning them, circling the feet, ankles. Bring your full attention to your fingers and begin by wiggling fingers in the right hand and then the left hand. Now I invite you to take a full body stretch from the top of your fingers to the tips of your toes as you breathe into your body and noticing how it feels. Notice what you're feeling. And remember how you can bring tender care to your body this precious body just as it is. And when you're ready, I invite you to roll over or find yourself gently and slowly into a seated position. And maybe kindly stretch, roll up, and find your seat. And if you're willing, come back to the camera or come back to me in this space. And I'm going to invite you as you come out, just to maybe put in the chat what you noticed and how you're feeling. And no judgment on whatever you say, because all experiences are true for us. So just what this was like for you, what you noticed in this time. More difficult not to fall asleep, yes. um, yeah, relaxed. The distractions, yeah. Oh, that you were, yeah, more aware of distractions, yeah. Yeah, so distractions are always going to be with us. And the question is how we, again, learn to train this muscle of the mind to stay focused. And know that the science behind this is when the mind is focused and not, I mean, we've admitted that we drift and we go to the past, we go to the future, we make judgments about everything. You know, I'm noticing my hair on the camera and I feel like I should get a haircut. But I mean, so our mind takes us away from the moment that quickly, right? I mean, thoughts come so fast. And when we're thinking like that, our body is not resting. So in order to get to this rest part and finding relaxed, softening, somebody said I was more tired than I realized. Yeah, we don't pay attention. We ignore so many things that our body is saying. And then when we try to rest or relax, we start thinking. You know, we do the to-do list. We write the memo that we were going to write. We write the story, or we relive a conversation. That is not restful. I don't know if anyone has friends that play games on their iPhone, but you know, and there's sort of a disconnecting aspect to that. You know, it could be for some, having a cocktail in the evening might be a relaxing thing. It becomes a question if it's, you know, more than a cocktail or two, but that it's a numbing and disconnecting. We want to learn to be connected and learn to be with life as it is. Stress is going to come, and there's some stress that's good. It's good to have a little anxiety, a little stress about, oh, I've got a report I've got to write. It's due, you know, in 2 days. So I need to think about this. I need to plan. It's good to think through things. If a hurricane is coming, you know, we're still kind of in that season, is being prepared, knowing what we can do. What's not helpful is letting our mind just drift and worry about what we don't know is going to happen yet. So this is about still learning to get the mind from this flip lid out of the amygdala into accessing our prefrontal cortex. Yawning is noticing it's a bodily function. It's getting more oxygen into the body. And again, as I said, most of us are exhausted. We do not sleep enough. We do not pay attention to our body enough. And we tend to go and we push ourselves through. We may drink caffeine to get our energy drinks. And yeah, somebody said, Ricardo said he feels more relaxed now, rested than before. Simply tuning in and paying attention. One of the things mindfulness will do is give you some rest. So when I guide and I talk about the alert mind, it means your focused mind is where you want it to be. So in the first class, some of us admitted that, we've read a page in a book and not even known what we read, can't remember it, or we were listening to a conversation and all of a sudden we realize we've gone off to another story in our heads. This is about training the muscle of the mind to be present and paying attention. And when the mind is focused, the body can rest. And so this is what you were doing when you focus on body parts, and you can do this on your own to help you sleep. It's also another way. There are some guided practices that are free. UCLA MARC, and I'll write these for Jamie to send out to you, but they're free and they have guided practices. So if you wake up at night or you get into bed and you can't sleep, putting one of these on, the times I've used them, I've fallen asleep before I've gotten through the whole body. So there are times when they're intentionally used to help you sleep. But it's also a way of focusing your mind to be present in the body and let it rest versus being activated and going to all the judgments, the past. Remember, your mind goes 4 places. It goes to the past, things that have happened and you can't do anything about, they've already happened. Or it goes to the future that you can't predict. I mean, there are certainly times we're going to strategize and plan, but when you're resting, you want to be present. It also judges or it compares. So mindfulness helps us be aware when our thoughts come in and learning just to say, this is not when I'm thinking. This is when I'm being. So I'm going to go back to my breath. I'm going to go back to sound. I'm going to pay attention to my body. Questions, if anybody has any questions. And remember the 3 deep breaths. Breathing deep into the body through the nostrils, pausing and releasing through your mouth takes you automatically into a rest and digest. If you can do it 4 or 5 times, you will find your body is back in the moment and your mind is clearer and you will feel more rested. I invite you to try that. So questions, we've got a few minutes, so I do want to give people time. Or comments. 4 places are our mind either goes to the past, so things, we relive stories, conversations, what we wish we had said. It can be memories, or we go to the future. So we think about, what am I having for dinner tonight? What TV shows or what lessons or what work do I need to do? What am I going to do after this call? Or we go tomorrow or anytime. So we go to the future. The other is that we judge. So our mind creates, without even us knowing it, judgments very fast. Whether it's the color of the paint on somebody's wall or an outfit somebody's wearing or the glasses, we just make these, and they're instantaneously. And we sometimes don't even notice it. The other is we compare. We think, oh, I wish I had that pen, or I wish I had that tablet, or that screensaver. We look at what other people have and we compare. So those tend to be the 4 places our mind takes us. And whenever we go there, we are not in the present moment. And what we're learning to do is keep exercising the muscle to be present. And that means that it's going to drift. We know our minds drift. So we don't want to, say, oh, I'm not doing it right. So one of the things early on is whether, am I doing this right or am I doing it wrong? What I would offer is just being, noticing. And I learned from one of my teachers, whenever the mind drifts, it's a gift to remind you to come back to the breath or to sound or to the body sensations. So, the kind of, for me, when I notice my mind drifting, I smile and think, yep, there it goes again. There will be a time later where you might begin to notice a specific theme of thoughts. And there's different levels of meditation and mindfulness then. But we're going to stay in the body. Next week, we're going to be working on movement in the body. So again, being aware of the body, because here's where we're going to get to, is understanding the signals of our body before we react, and we miss so much. I'm happy to repeat the breath. So, and we can do one just briefly. We've got a minute or two. So I'm going to invite you just to sit. It's a good practice. I use it still to help me. So, and you don't always have to be in your full practice of sitting or the posture, but it's helpful. And if you're standing, always feet flat on the floor. And I'm going to count. There will be snapping. It's my fingers, but we're going to inhale through our nostrils to a count of 4. We're going to hold our breath for 2. And then we're going to exhale slowly for a count of 5 through our mouth, as if you're blowing through a straw. So it's in through the nostrils, pausing in the belly, exhaling like a straw through the mouth. Exhale all your air and begin inhale for 4. Pause for 2. Exhale through the mouth for 5. Inhale nostrils. Pause for 2. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale nostrils. Pause for 2. Exhale through the mouth. Okay. Join me again. When we do that, we activate the vagus nerve. And the easiest way for me to remember it, it's to rest and digest. When our body is filled with air and we know we're breathing and we're just getting this oxygen and we're able to release it, we're safe. The body feels safe. It gets signals from your mind. So when you're concentrating on your breath, your mind it's present. It's not drifting and saying, oh, what am I doing next? So we'll begin to learn to connect thoughts and body sensations. Some of you may know when you get nervous, what happens in your body. And that's what I want you to start to pay attention to. Or if you look at and see a name on your email, notice if your shoulders tighten. Or if think about when you get a card in the mail from somebody you like, think of that sensation. Knowing how these signals just take you places. So it's being aware and also noticing how they change. Nothing stays constant. And that's the other piece to begin to notice. Anybody has chronic pain, we're going to deal with that in week 4. And it was very helpful for me to learn how to deal with that. So Any questions? I want to respect your time. I do want you to continue to practice, however it is. Begin to notice your thoughts, maybe. If you're compulsive like I was, and my type A personality, I used to chart all my thoughts of not the thoughts themselves, but the number of how many times I went to the past, how many times I made judgments, which can be very crazy. Jamie, there's a question for you about watching the videos that are the recordings, if they're accessible.
Yes. So Hannah Garcia is usually on with us, and so she goes in and just edits them, and then we post them to the Bridges Institute page on the Texas AFT website.
I want to thank Jamie and Bridges and AFT for giving us this opportunity to share the practice of mindfulness. I started practicing before I retired. I was in central office. I went to the dark side, for what would be considered for some the dark side. But I am absolutely grateful for the practice. And as I said, it's something just to do. And I hate to say to do, but it's being present, and it's finding the clarity, learning to be responsive versus reactive. And being kind to yourself. We're the worst critics to ourselves. I mean, our mind will tell us things of, I'm not good enough, I should have done something more, I could have been better, etc. It's endless, right? I don't like my body, I wish it were different, whatever it is. But it is our body. Let's embrace it. So anyway, thank you, Jamie, AFT, Bridges, for giving us this opportunity, and for all the educators and healthcare individuals who serve. And I have great admiration and gratitude, and I'm glad that you're still doing the work that you do. I will take questions. You can email Jamie, I'll get them, and happy to respond to them. Be well, be kind, and practice. Just kind of play with it and explore it like you were an investigator, and see how things happen for you. Much gratitude to all of you. Jamie, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for doing this. And everyone, just tell your coworkers, if you've got fellow teachers, nurses, anyone working in the health of education field. I think this is much needed right now for all of us with everything that is going on around us. So please invite everyone. As you know, it's free, and they can come and join us and do some meditation and mindfulness. But Michelle, thank you. And with that, we will go ahead and end, and we will see you all Monday evening at 6:15 for our 15 to 20 minutes meditation practice. And then we'll be back next Wednesday for this session.
Yep.
It'll be part 3 of the 6-part series. So thank you all, and have a great week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.